that unfortunately this release does seem to have been mired in somewhat of a storm over the last 24 to 48 hours, which does seem to be escalating, and it concerns artificial intelligence. Now, when the trailer was premiered for this particular release, people raised their hands then and found some of the sequences in the trailer a little conspicuous, as if they'd been given a coating of something that we couldn't quite put our fingers on, that had given it that kind of plasticky look that some of the more cheap, I hate to use the word cheap, but cheap AI, how that can look. This is technology and innovation that is still in its infancy, Luke. I know that you worked with AI. It's coming on in leaps and bounds practically by the week. So I feel that whilst that is exciting, it does open up a huge amount of possibilities. I think that it does mean, because it's changing so quickly, one has to be very sure that your grasp of it in the here and now is sound and measured, but an awareness of where it could go in record time should also be at the forefront of a creative's mind as well. And I'm not entirely convinced that they've been successful in doing that, in employing the use of AI, not just in a restorative way to restore the episodes, but as I understand it, for the first time, it's been used in a generative way as well. Generative AI, which is because restorative AI is simply to restore the original materials to the looking the best they could possibly look, but as they originally were. Whereas generative AI, is it that simple, Luke? It introduces new elements.
Yes, yeah. I work with AI every day on my job. That is what I do. Unfortunately or fortunately, and I will show you an example of a video I made yesterday with one prompt of a button, and I kind of give away the company I work for, but and that is you see.
Oh, hold on. Down. Hang on. Give me a moment. I can't quite get to you. There you are.
Oh, there you go. I'll put it back to the start. There you go. So this is a video I made. Oh, my screen's blurry. Of course it is.
We can kind of see it.
Yeah, but I work with AI every day, and it's what they've done is to just clean up the image. And I think I read somewhere that this wasn't a conscious choice by the team restoring it using AI. Apparently it was a remit from the BBC that they wanted to use AI in this way. It wasn't from the team that had been doing it previously. This is a remit from the BBC. Is what I got told earlier and what I read. So I don't know how
yeah, that makes sense to me, to be honest, Luke.
Yeah, that's so. But yeah, no, it is. Like I watched Terror of the Zygons, and the first couple of minutes, you're like, "Ooh, everyone does have that slightly uncanny valley-esque look." But then after a couple of minutes of it, you're like, "Oh, okay," and it kind of just goes by the wayside. You kind of just forget it because the story drags you in, and you're not kind of looking like it. And someone said Sarah looked like a ghost, and it's like, yeah, Sarah did look. I think my missus come in and caught it, and she was like, she looks like she's wearing a bit of a mask, and I was like, yeah, she does actually. But yeah, it's how they've used it on apparently is it the Android invasion is the one that everyone's picked up on. And I haven't gone that far yet, so I haven't seen this. So I can't judge.
Luke,
why? I thought it was fine.
Why would you think, Luke? Because I don't know. Why? What did they think was deficient in the original that AI would bring that couldn't have? That was more than just as Dan was saying, just restore what it was like originally. Clearly, they must have thought even that would be deficient, so they had to do the generative. Right.
From my understanding, they didn't have the original film prints, the original negatives left of the stories. So as they did with other episodes from other seasons, so they couldn't. So even if they upscaled them and cleaned them up, it would still look like absolute dog. So they used a generative AI to try and bring it up and match it. That's why I've heard is why.
I'm not convinced, unfortunately, that's correct. That season 12 It will exist. Season 13 exists, as far as I'm aware, and I will check on this to make sure I'm not talking absolute rubbish. But as far as I'm aware, season 13 exists on the original broadcast transmission tapes, just like season 12 does, season 14 does, so on and so forth. So unless, and I am happy to be corrected on this, as I understand it, the source material is still exactly the same.
So it's the film, so the stuff that they shot on film, so the exteriors. So the studio
you're talking about film specifically.
So the studio stuff isn't as bad, and it's not noticeable realistically. But where you notice is when it's shooting out on location, and that's when all the film grain has started to disappear.
But the reason I'm not contradicting you at all, Luke. All I'm saying is it makes no sense because the original transmission master tapes exist, and so there's no film degradation on those because they're not using film. It's the transmission tape on PAL 2-inch tape, and so yes, you're correct, Luke. If they'd got film that was degrading, yes, you would have problems, but they're not. They're working with the as far as I understand, and I'm happy to be corrected, with the original transmission tapes into which the film sequences will have been cut, and so you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I fear that if what you're hearing, so it's not contradicting you. You've heard this, and I would say that's a little. I think that sounds a little bit of like smoke and mirrors of a reason as to why we've got to do this. I fear, and I pray I'm wrong with this. I fear actually, it sounds like it might just be. As Dan, you alluded to a minute ago, a cheap and an easy way of restoring these episodes just by putting them. For you,
I want to make myself clear. I don't know if it was cheap. My argument
me neither.
My argument is that it looks cheap.
Well, I want to make myself clear. Firstly, I haven't seen any of the episodes apart from the few clips that I've seen on YouTube that have highlighted what people think are problems. So I am saying what I'm saying very, very guardedly because I haven't seen the footage, and so the controversy that is out there might be completely and utterly overblown, and all this is completely unnecessary. And actually, it all looks fine. It's possible that is the case.
And I have seen, for example, the quote that Luke, and here's an example of the outdoor film material that Luke is talking about. Now, what Luke has just said, what I've been able to find out over the last 24 to 36 hours, the scant information actually available. Apparently, I can't actually confirm this because I don't know where it's meant to have been said, but apparently some of the restoration team that work on these releases have alleged to have spoken publicly about this, and just as Luke said, they've made the claim here, just the exact words that I've been sent. They did not have the original film in the archive, so they used other sources, even contacted the person who has the film, but it was fading away, so they had to use technology. I don't know where this quote has come from. I don't know which of the team has said this to whom. So I'm going to continue to follow that line, maybe see if we can get some sort of quote, because obviously we do have contacts too on the restoration team and at BBC Studios who work on these. So maybe someone will give us some sort of definitive answer, because I don't think it's an unreasonable question for people to ask, particularly when they've spent 50, in my case, 55 quid on this, and I'm getting a product that this is not this potentially. It's okay, even if this release is isolated out of the however many, like 20 that have come out. Even if it's isolated, to me, this represents a major differentiation from the product that I've been buying for the last 7.5 years. And the fact that an unrestored version or an ungenerative AI-assisted version is not on this box set in the same way that you can choose between the original special effects and new special effects, but both versions have been remastered, both have been restored. Yeah. But you can't when it comes to the generative AI. There's only the generative AI versions on there, and not the equivalent of what would have been put out on DVD, which, in my opinion, particularly with Terror of the Zygons, was perfectly fine.
Well, I'd go even further than that, Dan, simply because on some of the Pertwee releases, as you may know, on those they put two entirely different versions of the same story on. Things like Frontier in Space is one of them, where they would put they have put the original DVD version, which was kind of the unrestored version kind of thing, and then the Blu-ray restored version. So that if you prefer, Curse of Peladon is another one where they've put kind of the original DVD version and the restored Blu-ray version of it. So this isn't an unprecedented. What I'm saying is
it's reasonable.
Well, yeah, and what I'm saying is it's not an unprecedented thing to have done. It's quite reasonable, Dan, to have, if they are going to do something that is quite stringent with regards to the effects that it's changed, the effect that it is creating on the picture. I think it's quite reasonable to say, but here is the kind of the DVD version, just in HD. This is a DVD version, it's in HD. So if you don't like this kind of and I still question, I genuinely, this honestly is not a complaint. I genuinely want to know what is different about season 13 that means, for example, with Terror of the Zygons, they have to go back to a piece of film that's falling to pieces to fit it in when you've got the original transmission broadcast tape. And so that would have the film inserted in it, just the same as it is on so many of the other releases. I don't understand what this requirement is to go back to what you seem to be saying is terrible quality film. I don't, and then putting AI on it to try and restore it. I don't get it.
Simply because the original grade and the original material would have been high spec at the time. If it's not up to it, then go back to material that is up to it, where you maybe don't have to do this to. I've got a quote here that again has come to me secondhand. I haven't been able to track this down, who he said this to or when, but apparently, according to our sources, Peter Crocker has claimed that Peter Crocker's worked for the restoration team for a number of years, hasn't he? And he's fairly open.
I think he's done all the picture restoration on all of the Blu-ray box sets, I think.
So apparently he's claimed that he had wanted to include the unrestored versions on the sets too, but has claimed that ultimately whoever makes these decisions did not take up that option. So Peter Crocker is claiming that that decision was made out of his hands to include both versions. So obviously we will pursue a couple of lines of questioning about this, because I think this does seem to be bubbling over. A lot of people are really irritated by this, are put off by what they've seen so far. The trailer, I took it at face value. Trailers, clips, packages, they just on YouTube, it may not be looking its best because YouTube compresses and twists and turns and does all sorts to things, doesn't it, Luke? But to get your high spec, almost boutique level 8-disc box set that's cost you 55 quid in now the run up to Christmas, to receive that in the post and find that you're met with images like this, I think it's more than a little off-putting. Several people have been going off on social media, including people who are usually very calm and collected, not as obnoxious as we are. Dr. Alex Noonan said, I watched Zygons Part 1 and the sheer amount of cheap AI over it made it borderline unwatchable. With respect, these sets should be definitive remasters, not a chance to tinker with new tech. It felt like a gut punch to realize I traded in my DVDs for this. I won't be trading in mine anytime soon until we get some sort of idea about where this is going. Now, Peter Crocker did respond to this gentleman's inquiry, just with a simple, your opinion is noted. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry, Dad, carry on, Dan.
There's no fat on that. It's perfectly polite. But I don't know.
I do fear that Luke could well be right here, and I have a feeling that this is probably something that's come from above rather than something that the people doing the picture restoration, Peter Crocker in particular, would be pushing for. I mean, interestingly, and I've actually managed to find, I've managed to go back and find an exchange that I had with Peter Crocker on X, Twitter as it was at the time, a couple of years back, when I actually sort of highlighted a video that was using using some AI technology. And I sort of highlighted it and said, oh, this might be an interesting idea to use to present alternative versions of Doctor Who episodes in an alternative kind of a HD. And I'm quoting from Peter Crocker, who says, I'm afraid it looks rather plasticky to me. Sorry, we've looked at AI upscaling algorithms and they're not a tool we can use yet. First rule of restoration is use the best source. That was Peter Crocker saying that it looks plasticky. I am concerned because when this was highlighted to me that this season 30 might be a problem, I thought, no, surely people are exaggerating. I have to be honest, some of the shots that I've seen, the word plasticky is about the best way to describe some of what I'm looking at.
Looking back to the DVD range, I remember them innovating as they went along. Vidfire, when that was first employed on, it was certainly a couple of years into the range. And they took a bit of a gamble with that, and it really, really paid off. But that was cutting-edge developments in many respects. And some people didn't like that. Some people rejected that, Sarah, on principle. But it was, I mean, obviously times were different then. There was no social media, or it was very early social media. So people couldn't literally get it in the post one morning and be kicking off by the afternoon directly to the people whose names are on the credits. It's a different environment, I know. But my feeling is, I'm going to say, I'm not going to shoot first, ask questions later. Let's put it that way. I'm going to take our time, watch some of the material, get a better idea. Because Luke's been very honest about the positives and the negatives. I'm going to see what I think. But at the moment, my instinct is telling me, Gary, that a line has been crossed here, and that this isn't restoration.
Oh, I agree with you. It's not. It's manipulation. I mean physical. I mean, you know what manipulate. I mean that.
Yeah.
But what I keep coming back to in my head is that, and I haven't watched my set yet, but whatever the real reason is, whether we've been given the real reason and it's just not enough for people, or whether whatever, I just find it so tragic that of all the sets that this would be used on, it would be the set that people have been most anticipating since the day that this range was announced. This was the set that people were most fanatically looking forward to, and for this to happen on this particular set is just beyond.
It's disappointing.
Yeah. Genuine question. Is there an element to this then that, do you think the people that are doing these, are they getting to that point where they're rushing to get these done? Because I don't understand what the rush is.
My feeling, Sarah, would be no. I genuinely don't think they are rushing. Is there a possibility that is it BBC Studios that is out there that puts these out? Is it still BBC Studios? Is that what they're called this week? I can't remember.
But I don't think anybody has been inserted in between the leaves, shall we say? I don't think anybody.
I wonder. I mean, is it possible that BBC Studios have just squeezed the budget? I think that's possibly more likely than they're rushing them through, Sarah. And as I say, I really do want to make clear that everything that I have said, this is not meant as a criticism. Certainly of the restoration team, who I think have done a brilliant job, and we they're legends in their own lunchtime. We hail them.
Yeah.
Simon, I had every faith in them. And
I still do.
As regards the trailer, I thought, well, there could be any one of a number of explanations for that trailer. So I didn't see any reason to.
I honestly, in all honesty, with all of this, I actually feel very, very sorry for the people like Peter Crocker and the restoration team, whoever's worked on this, because they must be absolutely gutted at this moment in time that we're all talking about this when we should be talking about how brilliant the box set is. And I would hope that this wouldn't dampen their enthusiasm to do the brilliant work they've done up until now. And I'm labouring this point because it's important to labour that we love the work that has been done by these guys. Absolutely. As you said earlier on, Gary, the Doctor Who is Doctor Who fans. We are the luckiest on the planet because of all these kind of genre shows, Doctor Who's the one that has had the most love, the most money spent on it, the most restoration worked on it. And so now it's beginning to sound, I feel like I myself am beginning to sound a bit churlish by saying, oh, it looks a bit plasticky. Because actually, hell, we're really lucky to have season 13 out on Blu-ray looking great. So I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression that we're just moaning. It's just... It's just a little bit disappointing, and I would hope that things will go on pause for a moment after season 13, and people maybe take stock and recalibrate and look at this again and say, did we make the right decision? Whoever it is that made that decision, and I suspect it's not the restoration team that made that decision.
Yeah, I don't think that anything that we've said could be construed as casting aspersions
I hope not.
on the Herculean dedication that this team has had since day one in getting all of this.
Yeah.
And if there's a questionable decision in the past, they've explained why things had to be done. For me, my first instinct on the very short Peter Crocker reply that Dan posted, the little one-line thing, my first response to that is there's probably a lot that he wants to say but can't.
Yes, of course, quite rightly.
Yeah, but again, this is beyond monumental. I mean, I can't come up with the right adjective to explain, what I think is the level of their accomplishment over the course of this series.
And we're so lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
There are several disgruntled customers in the live chat, and I do feel that that's how BBC Studios have got to look at this. I mean, maybe there'll be comprehensive answers issued in plain English too. I think people would be understanding if it's as simple as it sounds, but Sarah looks like a ghost. That's going to take me out of the episodes, and to be honest, I'm going to keep my DVDs. Thank you very much.
You mean Sarah?
No.
Okay. So I can look at this perfectly reasonably as a commentator and as a creative myself, but I know how I'll react if it takes me out of the episodes.
Yeah.
I am now.
Well, if you're distracted, that's what it is, Dan. It's if you get distracted by something.
I'm approaching my box set with a degree of trepidation that not only do I find unfortunate, but also, if I wanted to, it could really wind me up because this thing's cost me 55 quid.
Well, but also, Dan, in many ways, I think it's just a degree of frustration simply because we have been so spoiled by these Blu-ray box sets. On this show alone, we have hailed these Blu-ray box sets till the heavens. And so I think we're just all feeling suddenly a little bit
big time for 8 years, yeah.
Because we've been spoiled. We have been spoiled by this stuff. And now suddenly it's just a bit...
Well, the risk, Simon, though, is that, and maybe BBC knows this, maybe they don't, is that we have seen these stories so many times. We could close our eyes and sit back and probably replay the entire story in our head without even watching it on TV. So we know every line, we know every look, we know every grain on the thing. So if something distorts from that, we'll pick up on it like that. Because these things are so close to us. And that's the risk they run by doing something like that.
But following that, though, Gary, the BBC and everybody above, they should know now what Doctor Who fans are like.
Yeah.
We are obsessive. We know.
We're crackers.
Do listen to Space 1999 fans, Sarah.
If something's brilliant, we're going to let you know. If something's, less than brilliant,
you're right,
we're gonna let you know. I mean, I'm concerned that I don't want fans' ire to be directed at the wrong people. So I have some,
correct. That's why, really, Sarah, we could do with actually an official statement on this to actually lay this to rest.
What do all of you think of this comment? I mean, I'm not sure how to.
I just want to make it clear. Type 40 will be reaching out to people over this, so through appropriate channels in an appropriate way. But yes, our friend Lee in the live chat says it's not overblown. He's got a friend who's thinking of selling his Blu-ray collection over it.
Wow.
It's
Why?
early days, it's raw.
Why would I don't understand why you sell your Blu-ray collection, because everything up to this point is just brilliant and breathtaking, and I
Yeah.
love every single box set that I've got. So I don't know why you'd sell your collection just because of one box set that maybe isn't quite what you hoped it would be. And so, you know, to be clear, however, whatever season 13 looks like when I eventually get it, I'm still going to be happy to have it on Blu-ray, and the extras will be great. And do you know what I mean? So it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
No.
Corvin
It's
says,
like,
I think the argument on X is something along the lines of believing the AI upscaling is necessary to accommodate modern TV screens. I haven't seen that argument, Luke. That's I don't think that hangs together at all. But what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, I think the AI upscaling personally, because you know I work with AI every day. I think as long as I haven't come across much generative in it, to be honest, I haven't been looking for it. It does look slightly airbrushed. I will admit.
Yeah, it does.
It does look slightly airbrushed. I think a simple way they could have fixed it is just added. Obviously, do the AI upscale, get it looking nice, and then maybe just put a bit of film grain over the top, a fake film grain over the top. And a lot of people probably would have been like, "Oh, well, the grain's there," but so it would have probably taken the edge off slightly and just blurred the lines a little bit, where people would be like, "Oh, okay." So that would have been like maybe a little trick to do it. But it's when it comes into generative, then that's when people are going to be really, really going for it, because then you are replacing certain things with certain things.
Well, I could be wrong.
There's people voicing their disappointment on various social media platforms, including creative people like Pip Madeley, who has put this video together.
Yeah, I've seen it.
We can see it's not an unreasonable question under the circumstances. Pip has gone to great lengths here to demonstrate.
See, that's worrying. If the AI is doing stuff like that, I don't want it to be doing that.
No,
I just don't want it to be doing that. And it might sound picky and pedantic, and okay, I'll live with that, but I just don't want it to be doing this kind of stuff.
Because it's not Tom, is it?
No, Tom's bottom teeth are not like that. So, you know, and you're filling in the gap in the just no.
Whoever is responsible, I'm not on board with this at all. This isn't the product that I wish to buy, that I feel like I have been sold on for nearly 8 years. So whilst I wouldn't sell my box sets over this, I would like an answer, and I want to know what their standpoint could be from this.
I'm very worried by that. That particular shot worries me enormously. A finger's missing. This shot worries me enormously. This doesn't even look like Liz Sladen.
Wow.
Yeah, this one's bad.
You know, I mean, if this is genuinely taken from the Blu-ray and we're not being hoodwinked here with this video, I am concerned. I am concerned.
Thank you.
I don't. In all honesty, I don't have a problem with something like professional pointing, because to me that is actually increasing the detail. What I have problem with is where you're taking detail away. That's what worries me. Or adding something that wasn't there in the first place. This, you know, that just why have we got white specks there? I guess I can live with that kind of stuff.
I think most of it is that kind of stuff, and
I can live with that. Luke. Can you live with that?
Yeah, I could. But the stuff with like the teeth filling is clearly reading obviously the lines of the teeth and then trying to obviously
it's correcting them.
But yeah, it's correcting it ever so slightly. You can still see it is a little bit of a gap there. The straightened on the bottom is a bit straightening, but certain bits of it. Sarah's face is awful.
Sarah's face is worrying.
That's the one I was like, I can't defend.
It literally looks like something nightmarish. It does not look like Liz Sladen. Simple as that.
No,
we'll see. I'll see.
Some of it is fine. A lot of it is just sharp.
And I absolutely am reserving my judgment until I see it for myself. So this comes very guardedly.
Yeah. I think the word that somebody used before, which to me is doing all this, which is disappointment. I think the fans they've waited so long, and anything less than what they anticipated is just, I think the disappointment feels crushing, and that seems to me to be what is
But that's our bad, Gary. In many ways, I take
No, I
that
don't
as
mean
our bad.
us.
You know what
I
I mean?
mean, like-
Because we've been spoiled, and
Yeah.
that's why I feel this almost sounds churlish, almost. Don't know.
But
Tricky
no, I mean,
one.
but
It's really
I
tricky
don't
one.
think you were churlish, Simon, because like you said you're going to wait and
Yeah.
see for yourself and make your own individual
Yeah.
judgment, which
But
is
I,
what
but I really would like to hear from
Yeah.
somebody, whoever it is. I'd really just like to hear what the truth behind this is. I think
Let's take. Well, what we can do, our part of it, what we do as commentators and live streamers, that we can find out what people are thinking here.
Yeah.
In the live chat, and Matthew Pounder says certain scenes resemble the World Distributors painted annual covers.
Yeah.
Stephen O'Neill is glad that he kept his DVDs as well. We've got some several more comments as well. Lee adds, if I wasn't paying 55 quid for it and getting less quality with it, I am going to complain, and people should complain.
Yeah.
I think I'd give it another few days and see what's said.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think people have every right to express dissatisfaction and or disappointment.
I'd hate this to turn into some sort of witch hunt, though. That
exactly.
You know, and that suddenly the Blu-ray range sort of becomes tainted, or the BBC suddenly think, whoa, hold on, we're just not even going to bother finishing this range because those bloody Doctor Who fans do nothing but moan. I really want us to be everybody, the fandom, to be moderate on this, and let's just let's go steady. I feel
Matthew Pounder sticking to the originals as well.
Yeah, fair point.
Several people just keeping their DVDs for the time being. Corbin said he may have seen something about this on Gallifrey Base. I haven't been on Gallifrey Base for a long time. And problem being, says I don't blame Peter Crocker. I'm not going to put the blame on one man. He was given next to no budget and no time to get things done. The BBC should be throwing more money and resources at him.
Yeah, when they can see how popular this range is, they should be putting more resources as money into it, as problem being says, rather than less, if that's what they've done. And again, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
I mean, these Blu-ray collections, they're the lifeblood of the brand.
Yes.
Now more than ever. So you'd thought they'd be throwing everything.
Correct. Don't if they are cutting corners, and as I say, it is a guarded if from me. If they are, why at this point are you cutting corners? Why? BBC Studios, I'm talking about.
So late in the range and using an innovation that so few of us, even the people who work in the industry, are constantly being surprised by, are struggling to keep up with, because it's all happening so quickly. And so a group of we don't know if extra people were contracted to work on this, but if it's a group of gentlemen who are learning it from the ground up, we know so little about it. Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel that we should have been informed. I feel that it makes it a different product. That's
it does
in the same way that that the Daleks, Doctor Who the Daleks in colour, and Doctor Who the War Games in colour, being colorized like that. I think it makes it. They haven't put that out, the War Games in colour, in a season 6 box set, and not included the black and white version. And I think that's in relative terms, that would be the equivalent of doing this.
Yes, it would. And as I say, I do think a really clear delineation needs to be made between picture restoration, which is basically putting back to its best possible quality and correcting faults that might exist within the film, where there are dropouts from videotapes, where there are scratches in the film. Of course, that is due to be corrected simply because it wasn't there in the first place. And so picture restoration truly should be just putting it back to how it should have been originally, without any faults with regards to, as I say, film dirt, that film artifacts, that kind of thing. Using something like AI to actually change something, the line of somebody's teeth, fingernails, that's a very different thing, because you're now actually changing the picture rather than restoring the picture. And that's where I just feel I'm just a bit mystified by how this has come about. Did they not? Well, maybe there was a lack of realization on the part of whoever was doing this, that actually what was happening was teeth were changing, fingernails were suddenly missing. Is it possible that they didn't clock what was happening here?
He takes that, whatever that original footage is, wherever it's come from, whatever state it's in, it pins it as an underlayer, in a sense, something that is worked on the top of. And so that what we're actually getting as an end product is a simulated recreation of it, that just uses it as a reference point, as something to plot to. Well,
in effect, it's a CG. In effect, as I understand it, ultimately it's a CGI image then of the original material. That's what it is. It's
Once
a
it
CGI
goes through
image.
that process, it ceases to be the pure source.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's well, we wait and see.
I know very, very little about AI, Luke, but this is my gut instinct. Is that it's a different product, and let's see what we can find out over the next week or two. But the disappointment in the live chat is palpable.
It seems to be, maybe there was issues with the quality of the master tapes backing that they have, which seems a bit weird because obviously we got the DVDs out already. I think people are jumping on this thing that it is the majority is the location stuff looks worse than the studio stuff. The studio stuff looks fine from what. Terror of the Zygons, I was like, oh, it's mostly when they're out on location.
I'm genuinely intrigued, Luke. I don't understand why it is that when they're out on location. I'm fascinated. I'm intrigued to know.
Luke, since you're so immersed in this on a day-to-day basis, I'm really looking forward to, after you've seen the set, your perspective on it, because this is like your bread and butter. You deal with every day.
Thank you again.
Very interested.
It's fascinating, and it's good to have your input as well, Luke, as somebody who works with AI. Thanks again to Pip Madeley for that video. All credit to him. And we'll keep our eyes on this developing story. I don't imagine that Doctor Who fans are going to be letting this go anytime soon. Why should they? But let's wait and see what happens. Hope it hasn't wiped the smile off anyone's face, because there is plenty to still enjoy in the set.